Story 1, AITA for telling my daughter-in-law and son that it is too late and I will not change the family vacation plan so they can come. Every year I try to do a family vacation. Around Easter I asked everyone for their availability. The best days for almost everyone was a winter vacation. My dill-and-so told me that day wouldn't work for her so they can't go. I asked if the backup days would work and it was a no. Usually the vacation is something that everyone can drive to. It was going to be the same until all the adults agreed the kids were old enough to leave the country. So now the trip is to Europe. Everyone has bought their tickets and I have booked where we are staying. Everything is getting finalized. My son and Dill were not in the family vacation chat since they weren't going on the vacation. They heard about the plans and want to be added in. She called me up asking about it and what they need to do. I asked her how she could get off work and she explained she just could. I personally think she didn't want to go on the trip until she learned it was to Europe and lied to me that she couldn't come in the first place. I told her it is too late, things are booked and I am not willing to pay more than I already have. I paid for all the lodging, we would need to upgrade to fit 2 more adults. She asked if I was serious and that it is cruel to not include them on a family trip around Christmas. I told her it is what it is and it's not my fault. My son is pissed. He told me that I can afford to add 2 more adult. That is true. I reiterated what I told his wife. He called me a jerk. I want an outside opinion. Fairy Floss Flower says, NTA. First of all, you planned everything already and if your Dill really changed everything just because the trip was to somewhere she wanted to go doesn't sound good. Second, why can't they pay the extra if they want to come? Aren't they adults already? Wild Possible 2655 says, without knowing for sure the reason for changing, it's hard to make any judgment. At my job, the winter holidays are blacked off from management taking vacation. I would not be able to get it off to drive to stay with my family just hanging out a couple hours away. But if I went to my supervisor saying that my family planned a European trip for everyone, I would be able to convince them to give me the blacked out time, while likely me giving some concessions as well. Yeah, they should be more clear. I always am with my family but don't necessarily assume that everything was a possibility the whole time. I think you should actually talk to them from a place of wanting to solve a problem, instead of being petty. Old Priority 2870 says, I am not one to say whether NTA or AITA. What I can share is that life is short, too short to play petty. It sounds like from what you have shared is that you are perfectly capable of doing this upgrade, even if it is frustrating. You literally owe them nothing, though you might ask yourself WHST you want to invest in. It also sounds like you have some history with your Dill given the passive-aggressive comments about her only being interested after finding out that the trip was to Europe. You could take her at face value that she was now able to take time off because this does happen during the course of the work year, that time becomes available. Your son seems particularly upset and frustrated with your rigidity. Without knowing more about your overall relationships with them as individuals and as a couple, it is hard to know if they, or either one of them are spoiled and entitled or if you are controlling and punitive. As I said, life is short, and we have few things that are truly under our control. The one thing we can choose is what memories we cultivate with one another. If you take the time and hassle to include them, this will be remembered. As to will be if you choose to exclude them. The question is, what memory do you want to invest in? Best of luck, and hoping that you have a great holiday with your whole family. Story 2, AITA for having my neighbor's cars towed from my garage. My house is being built in a neighborhood that's a few years old. My lot is one of the few remaining lots and there are occupied houses surrounding mine. The exterior is basically complete and the contractors are in the process of putting up the drywall. After work the other night, I decided to drive out to inspect the work. Everything looked fine until I decided to check out my garage. When I opened the door, I saw 2 cars and a minivan parked inside my garage. I called the contractor to see if he knew anything about them and he was as perplexed as I was. My guess is that one of the neighbors decided to park their cars inside my garage because there was a slight chance of hail that night. At first I was just going to leave it alone, but the more I thought about it the angrier I got. By the time I got to my car, I was steaming mad. So much so that I called a tow company and had them tow all 3 vehicles away. The next morning my contractor called and told me the police was there to investigate the theft of the vehicles. I had them put the police on the phone and explained that I was the owner of the property, had the vehicles towed, and gave them the tow company information. My contractor told me later that the owners of those vehicles were shouting and cussing them out until the police made them leave. I went by after work and a guy confronted me about being his ass for having their vehicles towed. He was shouting about how I ruined their day because they missed work and their kids were late to school because He also said it cost almost $1,000 to get all 3 vehicles back and that he'll be covering the cost. I told him good luck with that and that Hesty asked for parking in my garage without my permission. We went back and forth until his wife came and pulled him home. Some of the other neighbors came out to watch our argument and afterwards some of them told me I was starting off on the wrong foot and should apologize to that guy. They said that I should be more neighborly and understand that neighbors help each other out. One said that I should have left a note instead of having them towed. It seems all my neighbors are against me. I can see their points, so maybe I overreacted? I'm not sure. Glowworm 1942 says, NTA. Who the F feels so entitled as to park their vehicles in someone else's garage even if the house isn't yet occupied? Starting off on the wrong foot? That's what the neighbor did by putting his things where they didn't belong. What if your contractor came back in the morning and they were still inside and that's where your contractor had to do work or stage materials? That's potentially money out of his pocket or yours. What if this neighbor damaged something pulling in or out and just left without telling you? I'm certain they wouldn't have let you know or offered to pay to fix it. Major Fox 2720 says, NTA. The audacity of your neighbor here is unconscionable. He trespassed on your property, then got mad when he had to pay the consequences. And the next time your other neighbors say to forgive him, ask them why they didn't offer their garage to those neighbors. Merely Whelmed One says, they used your property without permission. These are the type of people who would turn around and sue you if something happened to their car on your property. Turn it around on them. Tell them neighbors don't take advantage of each other, and they are supposed to make new people feel welcome, not exploited. Ask them how they would feel if they came to their home and found strangers trying to occupy their space. Because you haven't even been introduced yet, and they decided to use your new home as their own. How in the world is that neighborly? NTA. Thanks for watching. I love you. Follow Reddit Echoes for more.